So, picture this. You've broken up. The tears have dried, the playlists have been deleted, mostly. And then comes the question, can we still be friends?
The classic post-breakup Hail Mary. Some people swear it's mature, proof you've evolved past drama. Others say it's emotional quicksand in disguise.
Today we're digging into what science actually says about being friends with your ex. Can it really work, or are we just trying to hold on to something that's already gone?
We're talking attachment styles, grief, emotional regulation, the psychology behind why some exes turn into genuine friends and why others end up reliving the breakup on repeat.
Think of this as a reality check wrapped in relationship science and a little bit of our usual chaos.
Because sometimes staying friends helps you heal, and sometimes it just keeps the wound open.
I'm Lelaina Pierce.
And I'm Troy Dyer.
Welcome to The Love Divide.
Okay, so let's start with the obvious. Why do people even want to stay friends with their exes?
Because we're modern, enlightened adults who don't throw away people like old receipts. Or at least, that's what we tell ourselves.
Translation, we like the idea of emotional recycling. You already know each other, you've shared history, inside jokes, comfort. It feels wasteful to just delete that.
Right, especially now that breakups don't come with clean breaks. Social media keeps you connected. Birthdays pop up, memories resurface, mutual friends post pictures. You can block them, sure, but that's like trying to quit sugar while living inside a bakery.
And the research shows it's not rare anymore. Friendships between exes are actually increasing, especially in connected cultures, where your ex might also be your coworker, co-parent, or still in the same friend circle.
But the catch is, outcomes vary wildly. For some people, that friendship softens the grief and helps them heal. For others, it's like emotional limbo. You never really move on.
That's the paradox, right? Friendship with an ex can either be closure or a relapse. It's like rehab for your heart, but you keep living with your old dealer.
That is darkly accurate. And that's exactly why researchers are asking, under what conditions does this actually work?
So that's our main question tonight. Can ex-partners realistically and healthily remain friends after a romantic relationship ends?
And if they can, what makes it work? The study breaks it down into three main types of factors: psychological, relational, and social.
Psychologically, it's about how you're wired, your attachment style. Are you the secure type who can handle emotional distance, or the anxious type who spirals when you're not getting the same attention?
Or the avoidant type who says we're cool, but really just ghosts forever.
Exactly. Then relational factors. Was the breakup mutual or one-sided? Because let's be real, if one person got dumped and the other's trying to just be friends, that's not friendship, that's a waiting room.
The heartbreak lobby.
And finally, the social layer. Shared networks, cultural norms, how your community treats exes. In some cultures, exes staying friends is normal. In others, it's basically emotional heresy.
So the research isn't just about can it work, but what predicts when it will. It's about finding the conditions that make friendship with an ex emotionally healthy instead of destructive.
The hypothesis is actually pretty reasonable. Exes can stay friends when the breakup is mutual, time has passed, emotions are detached, and boundaries are clear.
So basically after you've done your emotional homework and you're not secretly hoping for a makeup sequel.
Exactly. You've moved from heartbreak to human connection 2.0.
And here's where the psychology nerds come in. This research doesn't just rely on common sense. It's built on actual theoretical frameworks.
Yeah. First up, attachment theory. It's that idea that how we bonded with our caregivers as kids shapes how we handle love and loss as adults. Secure people can usually handle friendship with an ex better. They can care without clinging.
But if you're anxious, that friendship keeps hope alive. You tell yourself it's platonic, but deep down, you're just waiting for them to realize you're the one again.
Okay, so you're saying there's no such thing as just friends if you're still stalking their stories?
Exactly. Then you have the grief and loss models. Breakups are like mini bereavements. You go through denial, anger, sadness, acceptance. Trying to be friends too soon is like skipping the funeral and going straight to brunch.
Then there's emotional regulation, the ability to manage your feelings instead of letting them manage you. People who can regulate well are less likely to fall back into romantic loops.
It's emotional sobriety. Can you be around your ex without craving the old high?
And then there's friendship maintenance theory. Basically, what makes any friendship sustainable: reciprocity, trust, and balanced effort. That's often missing when one person's still half in love.
Plus the sociological angle, gender norms, culture, how society shapes what's acceptable. Like, women are often encouraged to stay emotionally connected, while men are told to cut ties and move on.
So it's not just personal psychology, it's also social conditioning.
Which is why this question, should exes remain friends, doesn't have a one-size-fits-all answer. It depends on your emotional maturity, the breakup story, and the world you live in.
So in short, it's complicated. Some friendships with exes are healthy evolutions. Others are just unfinished business pretending to be closure.
And figuring out which one you've got, that's what this whole episode is about.
Coming up, we're diving into what actually predicts success. The science behind when friendship after love works and when it's just self-sabotage in disguise.
Okay, so we've talked about the psychology and the theory, but how do you actually study something as messy and emotional as friendship with an ex?
Yeah, because it's not like people walk into a lab saying, "Hi, I'm still emotionally entangled, hook me up to the friendship scanner."
Though honestly, I'd watch that show. But this is where the research gets really interesting, because they're pulling from multiple layers of data: psychology, sociology, even clinical therapy sessions.
Right, they're not just asking a few people on Reddit, we're talking serious data, longitudinal studies, meta-analyses, therapists, interviews, the big leagues.
Think of it like detective work. They're looking for patterns that repeat over time, like what predicts a healthy ex-friendship versus one that crashes and burns.
And they're using a mixed methods approach. That means both numbers and stories.
The numbers come from big surveys, thousands of people answering questions like, was your breakup mutual? Or how often do you text your ex?
And the stories come from interviews where people open up about why they wanted to stay friends, or what boundaries they set, or when it all went wrong.
It's like combining a spreadsheet with a therapy couch.
Exactly, and they track people over time, not just how do you feel today, but how are you doing 6 months later. That's how you catch whether that so-called friendship actually stabilizes or fizzles out.
So what do they actually measure in these studies?
Oh, it's detailed. They measure attachment styles, like we talked about before, but also the type of breakup: mutual, one-sided, or I initiated, but now I regret it.
That last one should be its own scale.
They even track things like how often do you still text, call, or hug, how clear are your boundaries, and how your new partner feels about it.
And my personal favorite, the continuing romantic feelings scale. Basically, a scientific way to ask, are you sure you're over them?
And then they tie all those variables together using fancy stats, meta-analyses, logistic regressions, survival models to see what predicts long-term success.
Survival models. I love that. It sounds like a reality show for your emotions. Will this friendship survive the next 12 months?
Exactly. They're looking for who makes it through the emotional jungle, who transitions into genuine friendship versus who ends up in what researchers call on-off contact. That cycle of texting, ghosting, reconnecting, and heartbreak déjà vu.
And then they identify what they call latent classes. Basically, categories of people. You've got the rapid detachers, the lingering lovers, and the cyclical contacts.
The rapid detachers sound like they'd make great friends later on.
Yeah, those are the folks who process the breakup, heal, and can actually see their ex as a person again, not a project.
Meanwhile, the lingering lovers probably still have a playlist titled Us.
And the cyclical contacts, that's the on-again, off-again crowd. Friendship for them is just the prequel to another sequel.
What's cool is how the analysis blends math with meaning. The numbers tell you what happens, and the interviews tell you why.
Exactly. Like, one pattern they found is that time since breakup really matters. Too soon, and it's emotional relapse. Wait long enough after real detachment, and friendship can actually boost well-being.
So it's not never stay friends, it's don't rush it.
Yes, and when researchers run these models, they can actually predict which friendships are likely to last, based on things like attachment security, mutual breakup, and how much time has passed.
So it's not random, there's a formula, not for love, but maybe for post-love survival.
That should be the next self-help book title.
And what's really fascinating is how the data helps therapists and relationship coaches. They can use these findings to guide people through breakups like, hey, maybe don't try to be friends right now, give yourself 6 months.
Or, if you're staying friends, make a boundary plan. The research actually shows that structure, like setting rules for communication and emotional check-ins, can stop the friendship from sliding back into romance.
So it's part science, part self-awareness, and part timing.
Which basically describes every successful relationship or friendship ever.
Coming up next, we're breaking down the actual factors that make post-breakup friendships succeed or fail, the emotional ingredients that separate "we're good now" from "I hate that I texted you."
Okay, so we've covered the science and the data, but let's bring it down to earth. When does staying friends with your ex actually work?
Yet, what separates the peaceful coexistence from the emotional demolition derby?
The research gives us a few key green lights, like when the breakup was mutual and there's been enough time for both people to fully process it.
Translation, you both cried, healed, maybe had your rebound era, and now you can see each other without heart palpitations.
Exactly. Also, secure attachment helps. People who can regulate their emotions and don't need constant reassurance are way more likely to pull it off.
And structure matters. If you have clear boundaries, like we don't flirt, we don't text at 2 a.m., we don't talk about the good old days, that's friendship maintenance 101.
And let's be honest, sometimes you stay friends for practical reasons, like co-parenting or shared work projects. That can actually keep things stable, as long as everyone knows the rules.
But if there's still sexual tension, or one person secretly hoping for a sequel, yeah, you're not in the friend zone, you're in the emotional booby trap zone.
Which brings us neatly to the risks. Because while the idea of being friends sounds mature, it can easily turn into an emotional relapse.
Yeah, that little voice that says, we're just catching up for coffee, when your heart's actually saying, maybe this is the moment they realize they made a mistake.
Smirk. That's not friendship. That's romantic slot machine syndrome. You keep pulling the lever, hoping you'll win them back.
The research calls it co-rumination. Basically, when you keep rehashing the relationship together, every fight, every regret, you're reopening the wound instead of healing it.
And it doesn't just affect you two. New partners often get caught in the crossfire. Jealousy, mistrust, that nagging question, why are you still so close?
Plus, shared friend groups can get awkward fast. Suddenly, everyone's tiptoeing, wondering which one of you they're allowed to invite to game night.
So yeah, staying friends can be healing, but only if you've done the grief work and built real boundaries. Otherwise, you're just reliving the breakup on repeat.
That's where the counseling part comes in. Therapists actually have step-by-step frameworks for this.
First step, assessment. Be honest about why you want to stay friends. Is it emotional maturity or just fear of letting go completely?
Then there's the no contact phase. Most professionals recommend a cooling off period, a few months minimum before you even attempt friendship.
Think of it as emotional quarantine. You need time to detox from the relationship before you can re-enter each other's orbit safely.
Then after that, you build a boundary plan, like setting communication limits or deciding which topics are off limits.
My personal favorite is the mutual check-in. Every few months, both people ask, is this friendship still working for us? It's like an emotional audit.
Friends, HR for your heart.
Exactly. And if either person starts catching feelings again, time to pause, step back, or, as therapists say, renegotiate the terms.
Transparency is key, especially when new partners are in the picture. Hiding that you still talk to your ex is basically relationship sabotage 101.
And if you're really struggling, still hung up, still looping, that's when therapy helps. Emotion-focused therapy, or CBT, can actually retrain retrain your emotional habits so you're not chasing old attachment highs.
So the bottom line, friendship with an ex isn't automatically bad. It's just high maintenance.
Yeah, it's like owning a vintage car. Looks cool, full of memories, but if you don't maintain it properly, it'll break down and smoke up your whole garage.
Perfect metaphor.
Coming up next, we'll look at how culture and gender shape all this, why being friends with your ex is totally normal in some places and a giant red flag in others.
Okay, we've been talking about friendship after breakups, but researchers don't just talk about it, they map it, literally.
Yeah, imagine a chart that shows whether your friendship with an ex is thriving or a slow-motion disaster.
It's called the Relationship Outcome Matrix. Basically a two-axis map. On one side, how emotionally detached you are. On the other, how mutual or amicable the breakup was.
So in the top right, high detachment and high mutuality, that's the healthy friendship zone, the golden land of we're cool now.
Then you've got the opposite corner. Low detachment, low mutuality. That's the absolutely not zone. Still feelings, still resentment, enter at your own risk.
That's the territory of midnight texts and mysterious "Hey stranger" messages.
Then there's the two middle quadrants. One's emotionally risky but manageable, the other's possible but cautious. Think, we can grab coffee but not talk about the old times.
It's like a weather map for your emotional climate. Clear skies, light tension, or full-on hurricane.
Right. And then there's the emotional detachment timeline. Stage 0, acute grief, the crying, scrolling playlist phase.
Stage 1, emotional processing, journaling, therapy, maybe a questionable haircut.
Chuckling. Stage 2, behavioral adjustment, less contact, testing boundaries.
And stage 3, detached coexistence, the moment you see their photo and your heart doesn't flinch. That's when friendship's actually possible.
But here's where it gets tricky. Culture and gender change everything.
Oh, absolutely. In some cultures, staying friends with an ex is expected, especially in collectivist societies where family and social ties overlap. You can't just disappear because you broke up. You still share community space.
Whereas in more individualistic places like the US, there's this clean break mentality. You're supposed to move on fast, reinvent yourself, and cut the cord.
And gender norms add another twist. Women are often socialized to maintain emotional connection, even after romance ends. So let's stay friends can feel like the kind and mature thing to do.
Meanwhile, men are often told to walk away and don't look back. So when a guy does want to stay friends, people sometimes assume he's not over her or he's got ulterior motives.
Which shows how much of this isn't just about feelings, it's about what society expects from you.
And let's not forget LGBTQ+ relationships where social circles can be smaller. Sometimes staying friends isn't just emotional, it's survival.
Exactly. You might share a friend group, a queer community space, even an identity journey. Cutting off an ex isn't always an option, so boundaries become even more crucial.
It's like the research says, there's no one-size-fits-all rule. What's healthy in one context could be toxic in another.
And that brings us to something researchers really stress: ethics and privacy.
Yeah, because when you're studying breakups, you're basically asking people to relive some of the most personal moments of their lives.
Which means consent is everything. Participants have to know what they're sharing, how it'll be used, and that their identities stay completely private.
It's not just academic etiquette, it's emotional safety. You don't want someone to get re-traumatized just for a study.
Right. The researchers in this project are big on compassion. No judgment, no shoulds, just data. They even de-identify all the transcripts so nobody's heartbreak becomes clickbait.
And they remind people this research isn't prescriptive. It's not saying you must stay friends or never stay friends. It's saying, here's what tends to work statistically. You still have to make the human call yourself.
That's the ethical sweet spot. Empathy plus evidence.
So when we talk about staying friends with an ex, we're not just talking psychology, we're talking culture, gender, and ethics. It's about respecting yourself and the other person's emotional boundaries.
Which might be the real friendship test after all.
Smiles. Coming up, we'll look at what the data doesn't capture, the biases, the blind spots, and the human mess that still escapes the spreadsheets.
So, Troy,
We've covered everything from breakup maps to cultural twists, but even the best science has a little fine print, right?
Oh yeah, every study has its "don't quote me out of context" moment. And when it comes to researching relationships, especially exes, bias is practically baked in.
Totally. For one thing, most studies rely on self-reports. Basically, people rating their own breakups. And humans, we are not exactly objective narrators when it comes to love.
Yeah, it's like asking someone, so, why did your last relationship end? And expecting a TED Talk instead of a soap opera.
Exactly. There's also social desirability bias. We want to sound mature, evolved, emotionally stable. So people might say, oh yeah, we're still friends, it's great, even if they're secretly crying over old texts.
And that skews the data, because on paper, it looks like ex-friendships are thriving, when in reality, half of them might be emotional quicksand.
Then there's sampling bias. A lot of participants come from dating forums, therapy groups, or college campuses, people who are already more reflective or open to talking about feelings.
Right, so it's not necessarily representative of everyone, like your uncle who says feelings are for weaklings, but still checks his ex's Facebook once a week.
That's the thing. Some voices just aren't captured. Older couples, long-term marriages, or people in cultures where friendship with an ex is taboo, those perspectives often get lost.
And long-term outcomes, understudied. We have great short-term data, like who stays friends after 6 months, but not much 5 or 10 years down the line.
Which is kind of wild, right? Because friendships with exes can evolve for years. You can go from heartbreak to indifference to genuine care. But that timeline doesn't always fit into a research grant.
Science moves fast, love not so much.
And yet, even with all those limits, the researchers behind this project are building a full-scale roadmap for future work.
Yeah, they're packaging everything into what's called the final deliverables. Think of it as the ultimate breakup survival toolkit for both academics and everyday people.
There's the executive summary, 1 page, public-friendly, like here's the short version without the graphs.
Then the full analytical report. That's the deep dive with all the stats, charts, and citations, perfect for therapists, counselors, or anyone who loves data and heartbreak in equal measure.
And a practitioner brief, kind of a cheat sheet for coaches and therapists who want to translate all this science into real-world advice.
Oh, and they even plan a PowerPoint summary for conferences, or maybe that brave therapist who decides to present friendship after love to a room full of skeptics.
I'd attend that just for the Q&A session.
The big idea is to bridge research and reality, so the findings don't just sit in academic journals, they actually help people make better choices.
Which is huge, because breakups are one of the most universal experiences in the world, and yet we kind of wing it.
Right? No one teaches you how to do a breakup well. We just improvise, text at 1 a.m., and call it emotional growth.
So if science can step in and say, hey, here's what tends to work and here's what doesn't, that's not cold or clinical. That's compassion with data.
I like that, compassion with data.
Coming up, the future of this research. How scientists plan to study love, bias, and friendship in a way that's more diverse, more inclusive, and maybe a little more human.
You know, Lelaina, when people think about studying love, they imagine candlelight, heartbeats, maybe heartbreak.
Right, not keyword searches and database filters.
Exactly, but that's where it all begins. Before the romance, before the results. There's a researcher sitting at a laptop typing post-breakup friendship longitudinal outcomes into PsycInfo.
It's like Tinder for data, just swiping through studies until you find the one.
I'd watch that movie. But yeah, that's the backbone of real relationship research. This study uses a super structured search plan. They literally have lists of the exact terms to find everything ever written about exes who stayed friends.
Things like post-breakup friendship, attachment-style breakup, mutual breakup friendship, co-parenting ex-friendship. It's like a love autopsy.
And then they go database hopping. PubMed, Scopus, Web of Science, JSTOR, all the digital cathedrals of human heartbreak.
That's what makes this kind of research legit. They're not cherry-picking quotes from BuzzFeed. They're cross-checking studies from peer-reviewed journals, sometimes going back decades.
I love that idea, that to understand something as timeless as love, you have to start by building a digital map of every mistake humans have ever made in relationships.
The collective heartbreak database. Imagine the metadata. Subject cried for 3 months, recovered with therapy, now friends with ex.
Or not. But the point is, the search terms themselves are part of the science. You can tell a lot about a study by how it frames its questions.
Exactly. The difference between searching, can exes stay friends, and what predicts successful post-breakup friendships? One's clickbait, the other's empirical curiosity.
Then there's the next level, citations.
Oh yeah, the unsung poetry of academia.
You mean the part everyone skips when reading a paper?
Yep, those tiny names and years at the bottom of the page, that's the trail of breadcrumbs that proves the research is real.
This project even provides example citation templates. APA style, of course. It's basically saying, here's how to cite heartbreak responsibly.
The emotional version of source. Trust me, bro.
Yeah, like Smith, J. 2022, Friendship After Heartbreak, a longitudinal study of ex-partners in transition.
Published by people who've definitely cried over someone they still follow on Instagram.
But honestly, that's what makes it beautiful. Love gets treated with the same rigor as medicine, physics, or climate change. Every heartbreak becomes data that helps someone else understand themselves better.
Right, it's the merging of head and heart. Even the most personal, messy experiences are worth studying because they shape how we heal and connect.
And all those dry-looking references, they're really just tiny love stories with footnotes.
I love that. Tiny love stories with footnotes.
Coming up, we'll dig into how researchers test these studies for accuracy, how they keep bias in check, and make sure their findings actually hold up in the real world.
So if you've ever wondered how science keeps love honest, this next part's for you.
So we've reached the last stage, the part researchers call quality assurance, which in normal human language means, did we do this right?
Yeah, because even love science needs a spell check. Before they release anything, the researchers go through a whole checklist to make sure their results aren't just romantic wishful thinking.
They pre-register everything, which basically means they lock in their plan before running the study so they can't fudge results later.
It's like emotional accountability. No changing your story halfway through the breakup.
Then they pilot their surveys to check reliability, making sure questions like, how close are you to your ex, actually measure closeness, not bitterness.
And they're serious about diversity. They're testing across ages, genders, orientations, and cultures, because what healthy friendship means in Manila isn't always the same as in Montreal.
Then they run sensitivity analyses, fancy term for asking, okay, but what if we're wrong? If their model still holds under pressure, it's legit.
And finally, they do peer review, basically handing their work to other relationship scientists who try to poke holes in it. If it survives that, you know it's solid.
Which is kind of poetic. The research itself has to go through a breakup test to see what parts hold together and what falls apart.
And after all that, what do they actually find?
The short version, friendship with an ex can work, but it depends on timing, honesty, and boundaries.
It's most successful when both people have processed the breakup, the split was mutual or at least respectful, and there's no secret romantic agenda lurking in the group chat.
And if there's still longing, jealousy, or old emotional residue, trying to be friends too soon is like rebuilding a house on wet concrete.
The study calls time, honesty, and structured boundaries the strongest safeguards. I'd call them the holy trinity of emotional maturity.
So true. It's not that staying friends is wrong. It's that it requires the same intentionality as the relationship did.
Maybe more. Because friendship after love isn't about what you used to be. It's about what you're still capable of being for each other, now that the story's changed.
That's the science and the soul of it.
You know, I think that's why this topic hits so hard. We've all had someone we weren't ready to lose completely.
But being friends shouldn't be a loophole. It should be a choice.
A choice made from peace, not from panic.
Exactly. If you can see your ex and genuinely wish them well, no hidden hope, no pain in your chest, that's friendship. That's freedom.
And if you can't yet, that's okay too. Healing is its own kind of relationship.
So, final takeaway, can exes remain friends?
Some can. Most want to, but only the ones who've truly let go will actually make it work.
That's heartbreak with homework.
If you enjoyed this episode, don't just ghost us afterward.
Yeah, be the kind of ex-listener who actually stays in touch. Hit that like button, subscribe, and share it with someone who swears they're just friends with their ex.
You can also drop your thoughts in the comments. We love hearing your stories and takes.
I'm Lelaina Pierce.
And I'm Troy Dyer.
Thanks for listening to The Love Divide.